Every day, millions of people hand over control of their lives without even realizing it. Not to governments, not to money, not to circumstances, but to opinions. A careless comment from a stranger can ruin an entire day. One look of disapproval can silence a dream. One moment of criticism can make someone question years of hard work. Little by little, people stop speaking honestly. They stop taking risks. They stop chasing the life they truly want. Instead, they begin performing, smiling when they don't feel happy, agreeing when they want to say no, living a life that earns applause instead of peace. The saddest part is that this prison has no walls, no chains, no locked doors. The only thing keeping people trapped is the belief that everyone else's opinion matters more than their own. The Stoics saw through this illusion over 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he reminded himself that praise and criticism disappear just as quickly as the people who speak them. Epictetus lived as a slave, yet discovered a freedom that even emperors struggled to find. Seneca possessed immense wealth, but warned that the person who depends on public approval will never know real peace. Their message was simple. The moment you stop living for other people's approval is the moment your real life begins. Because confidence isn't built when everyone likes you. It's built when you remain yourself even if they don't. Today, you're going to learn the timeless Stoic principles that free your mind from judgment, silence self-doubt, and help you become emotionally untouchable. Not by changing other people, but by changing the only thing you were ever meant to control. Your own mind. Most people believe confidence comes first. They tell themselves, once I feel confident, I'll finally speak up. I'll chase my dream. I'll stop worrying about what everyone thinks. But confidence has never worked that way. Confidence isn't the beginning of the journey. It's the reward for surviving the journey. Every person you admire, every successful entrepreneur, athlete, artist, or leader has faced criticism. Not once. Not twice. Constantly. The difference is simple. They stopped asking permission to become themselves. Marcus Aurelius understood something that most people spend their entire lives trying to learn. Every human being has a role to play, and that role should never be dictated by the crowd. Imagine an oak tree standing in the middle of a violent storm. The wind pushes from every direction. Branches bend. Leaves fall. The sky turns dark. Yet, the roots remain exactly where they belong. The tree doesn't argue with the wind. It doesn't beg the storm to become gentler. It simply stands. That is Stoicism. Strength is not resisting the world. Strength is refusing to let the world decide who you are. Now think about your own life. Every criticism you've ever received has given someone else permission to shape your identity. Someone called you not smart enough, so you stopped trying. Someone laughed at your ambition, so you lowered your expectations. Someone rejected your ideas, so you convinced yourself they weren't worth sharing. Little by little, you handed strangers the pen and allowed them to write your story. The Stoics would call that the greatest mistake a person can make, because your character should never be built from borrowed opinions. It should be built from deliberate choices. Epictetus taught that if someone insults you, remember this: they are speaking only from what they know. They don't see your entire life. They don't know your struggles. They don't know your intentions. They don't know the battles you've fought in silence. They're judging one page while you've lived the entire book. Why then should one sentence from them outweigh every chapter you've written? Modern psychology supports this idea. Our brains are wired to notice rejection more than acceptance. Thousands of years ago, belonging to a tribe meant survival. Being rejected could mean death. Even though the world has changed, the brain still reacts as if every negative opinion is a threat. One harsh comment can erase the emotional impact of 100 compliments. Not because it's true, but because your brain is trying to protect you. Understanding this changes everything. It means the fear isn't proof that you're weak. It's simply ancient programming operating in a modern world. The Stoics knew they couldn't stop these emotions from appearing. Instead, they trained themselves not to obey them. There's a powerful story about Epictetus. One day, a man came to insult him publicly, expecting an angry reaction. Instead, Epictetus listened quietly. When the man finished, he calmly replied, "If you knew all my faults, you would have said much more." No anger, no revenge, no need to defend his ego. Imagine having that kind of inner peace. Imagine someone trying to provoke you and discovering there's nothing to provoke. That's real strength. Not overpowering another person, overpowering your own ego, because here's the truth: people can only control your emotions if you hand them the keys. The moment you stop giving them those keys, their words lose their power. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you become a little freer. Every time you tell the truth instead of telling people what they want to hear, you become a little stronger. Every time you refuse to shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable, you reclaim another piece of your life. The irony is that the more desperately people chase approval, the less authentic they become. And authenticity is exactly what earns genuine respect. People trust those who stand firmly in their values, not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Marcus Aurelius never tried to please everyone in Rome. He focused on becoming worthy of respecting himself. That is the standard Stoicism invites us to adopt. Not, do they approve of me? But, can I respect the person I see in the mirror? Because if the answer is yes, the opinions of the crowd become nothing more than background noise. And that's where true freedom begins. Not when everyone finally understands you, but when you no longer need them to. The need for approval doesn't disappear overnight. It survives by hiding behind habits so ordinary that most people never notice them. The Stoics believed that before you could become free, you first had to recognize what was quietly controlling your mind. There are 3 invisible chains that keep people trapped. Break these chains, and the opinions of others begin to lose their grip. The first chain is comparison. Comparison is a silent thief. It doesn't arrive with noise, it whispers. It convinces you that someone else's success somehow diminishes your own. You scroll through social media for 5 minutes. Suddenly, everyone seems richer, happier, smarter, more attractive, more successful. Meanwhile, you're sitting in the exact same room you were in before you opened your phone. Nothing in your life has changed. Only your perspective has. Marcus Aurelius warned himself never to waste time wondering what another person was doing unless it served the common good. He understood that comparison steals attention from the only life you can actually improve, your own. Think about an archer aiming at a target. The moment he turns to watch another archer, his own arrow misses. Life works exactly the same way. Your focus determines your direction. Every minute spent measuring yourself against someone else is a minute stolen from becoming the person you're capable of becoming. The second chain is perfection. Most people don't delay because they lack ability. They delay because they fear judgment. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect body, the perfect speech, the perfect opportunity. Years pass, and perfection never arrives. Seneca wrote that while we wait for life, life passes. Those words strike harder today than ever before. Imagine standing on the edge of the ocean. You refuse to enter because you're waiting for every wave to disappear. You'll stand there forever. Life will never become perfectly comfortable. The right moment is almost always uncomfortable. Every meaningful decision feels risky before it feels rewarding. The entrepreneur launches before feeling ready. The writer publishes before believing the work is perfect. The speaker walks onto the stage while still hearing fear in their heartbeat. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's movement despite fear. The third chain is identity, perhaps the strongest chain of all. From childhood, people begin handing you labels. Quiet, shy, gifted, average, successful, failure, funny, weak. Over time, you stop questioning these labels. You begin living inside them. But Stoicism teaches something radically different. You are not the story other people tell about you. You are the choices you make today. Every sunrise offers a new opportunity to redefine yourself. Marcus Aurelius never woke up asking, "What kind of person was I yesterday?" he asked. "What kind of person should I be today?" That single shift changes everything, because identity isn't fixed, it's practiced. If you've spent years believing you're not confident, practice courage. If you've spent years believing you're lazy, practice discipline. If you've spent years believing you're weak, practice resilience. Eventually, your actions become louder than the labels you've accepted. Here's something most people never realize. The people judging you are often carrying chains of their own. Someone criticizing your ambition may secretly regret never pursuing theirs. Someone mocking your confidence may be struggling with deep insecurity. Someone trying to bring you down may simply resent seeing someone else rise. Their criticism says far more about their internal world than it does about yours. Epictetus taught that when someone behaves poorly, ask yourself, what belief could make them act this way? Not to excuse them, but to understand them. Understanding dissolves resentment, and resentment is another prison. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks. Every insult, another rock. Every criticism, another rock. Every betrayal, another rock. Eventually, the weight becomes unbearable. The person who hurt you has already moved on. Yet you're still carrying the burden. Forgiveness, in Stoic philosophy, isn't about saying someone was right. It's about refusing to carry unnecessary weight. The strongest people travel light. They don't collect insults. They don't preserve old arguments. They don't replay embarrassing moments every night before falling asleep. They let them go. Because peace is more valuable than proving a point. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide, will I spend my energy managing my reputation or building my character? One can disappear overnight. The other can never be taken away. A reputation lives in other people's minds. Character lives in your own actions. One depends on applause. The other depends on integrity. And integrity is something no crowd can give or take away. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They weren't trying to win popularity. They were trying to become the kind of people who could sleep peacefully at night, even if the whole world misunderstood them. Because in the end, the loudest voice you'll hear isn't the world's, it's your own. And if that voice respects the life you're living, the opinions of everyone else slowly fade into silence. There is a moment that changes every life. It doesn't arrive with applause, it doesn't announce itself. Most people don't even realize it's happening. It begins the instant you stop asking the world who you should be. From that moment forward, something remarkable happens. Your energy begins returning to you. For years, you've been spending it everywhere except where it belongs. Trying to impress people, trying to avoid criticism, trying to explain yourself, trying to fit into rooms that were never meant for you. It's exhausting. Not because life is hard, but because pretending is. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a person's worth is measured by the worth of the things to which they devote themselves. Think about that for a second. If your attention is constantly consumed by what strangers think, then strangers have become the most valuable thing in your life. Without realizing it, you've made them your master. The Stoics refused to live that way. They believed attention was one of the most precious resources a human being possesses. Once you spend it, you never get it back. Imagine waking up every morning with 1,000 gold coins. Every unnecessary worry about someone else's opinion costs 10. Every argument on social media costs 20. Every hour replaying an embarrassing conversation costs 50. By the end of the day, most people have spent everything, not building their future, but feeding their anxiety. Now imagine someone else. They invest those same coins differently. Learning, creating, training, reading, building relationships, improving their character. After 1 year, who do you think becomes stronger? Success is often less about talent and more about where your attention goes. Where attention flows, life follows. That is why the Stoics guarded their minds so carefully. They knew distractions don't always look dangerous. Sometimes they look like approval. Sometimes they look like popularity. Sometimes they look like the desperate need to be accepted. But anything that steals your peace without improving your character is too expensive. There is another habit quietly destroying millions of lives: explaining. Have you noticed how often people feel the need to defend every decision they make? They explain why they changed careers, why they ended a relationship, why they started a business, why they moved to another city, why they said no, why they chose themselves, as if every decision requires permission from an audience. Epictetus offered a different approach. He believed your life should become your explanation, not your words, your actions. A tree never announces that it's growing, it simply grows. Eventually, everyone sees the fruit. The same is true for you. You don't have to convince people you're changing. Become the evidence. Silence has a strange kind of power. The more secure you become, the less interested you are in proving yourself. Have you ever noticed that mountains never compete with hills? The ocean never argues with rivers. The sun never asks the moon for validation. Nature simply fulfills its purpose, without comparison, without apology, without explanation. Human beings were meant to do the same, yet somewhere along the way, we began measuring our value through applause. But applause is temporary. Some people will cheer for you today and criticize you tomorrow. If your happiness depends on their approval, your peace will disappear the moment their opinion changes. The Stoics searched for something far more stable: self-respect. Because self-respect cannot be taken away by gossip. It cannot be destroyed by rejection. It cannot be canceled by criticism. It grows every single time you keep a promise to yourself. Every workout you finish. Every difficult conversation you face. Every temptation you resist. Every commitment you honor. Brick by brick. You build an identity that doesn't require applause. That is confidence, not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that enters a room without demanding attention. The kind that remains calm when everyone else is chasing approval. People often mistake confidence for arrogance. The Stoics knew the difference. Arrogance says, "I need everyone to believe I'm important." Confidence says, "I already know who I am." One depends on the crowd, the other depends on character, and character is built in private. No cameras, no audience, no recognition, just daily choices repeated long enough to become part of who you are. This is why Marcus Aurelius kept writing to himself. Not because he lacked wisdom, because he understood something every great person eventually learns. Your greatest battle isn't against the opinions of others, it's against forgetting your own principles. Every day the world tries to pull your attention outward. The Stoics practiced pulling it back inward, again and again and again. Not because they were perfect, but because freedom requires practice every single day. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. The strongest mind isn't the one that never hears criticism. It's the one that hears it, learns from what is useful, ignores what is meaningless, and keeps moving forward without losing itself. Freedom doesn't arrive the day people stop judging you. It arrives the day their judgment stops deciding how you live. That day changes everything, because you begin making decisions from conviction instead of fear. Most people spend years trying to control something that has never belonged to them. Reputation. Think about it. Your reputation exists only in someone else's mind. Every person has a different version of you. To your parents, you're one person. To your closest friend, another. To your coworkers, someone completely different. To a stranger who met you for 5 minutes, you're someone else entirely. Which one is the real you? None of them. They're all incomplete. They're all filtered through someone else's experiences, expectations, and assumptions. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. He never chased an image. He focused on becoming a man whose actions reflected his principles. The image would take care of itself. Modern life encourages the opposite. It teaches us to build a brand before we build a character, to look successful before becoming successful, to appear confident before earning confidence, to collect followers before discovering ourselves. But appearances are fragile. Character is permanent. A beautiful building can impress people. A strong foundation survives earthquakes. Stoicism has always been about foundations. Imagine 2 houses standing beside each other. The first is built on sand. From a distance, it looks magnificent. Tall windows, expensive furniture, perfect landscaping, everyone admires it. Then the storm arrives. Slowly, cracks begin to spread across the walls. The ground shifts beneath it. Everything that looked impressive begins to collapse. The second house is much simpler. It never attracted much attention. People overlooked it. Some even criticized it. But it was built on solid rock. When the same storm came, it remained standing. The storm didn't create strength. It revealed it. Life works exactly the same way. Criticism doesn't create insecurity. It reveals where insecurity already exists, and that's good news, because anything revealed can be strengthened. Instead of asking, "Why did those words hurt me?" ask yourself, "What belief inside me allowed those words to take root?" This is what the Stoics called self-examination. Not self-judgment, self-understanding. There is a huge difference. One leads to shame. The other leads to growth. Every painful emotion carries information. Jealousy points towards something you value. Fear points towards something you haven't faced. Anger often points toward an expectation you refuse to let go of. The Stoics didn't suppress emotions. They investigated them. Like scientists observing the mind, when you begin observing your thoughts instead of immediately believing them, everything changes. A thought appears. "They're laughing at me." Instead of accepting it as truth, you pause. Is that a fact or is it a story? Another thought appears. "I'll embarrass myself." Again. Is that reality or prediction? Most suffering begins when imagination disguises itself as certainty. Epictetus reminded his students that events themselves don't disturb us. Our interpretation of those events does. That sentence alone has transformed countless lives. Because if interpretation creates suffering, a wiser interpretation can create peace. Imagine walking through a forest at sunset. You hear something moving behind the trees. Your heart races. Your breathing changes. Your body prepares for danger. Moments later, a deer quietly steps into view. Nothing outside changed. Only your interpretation did. The same principle applies to criticism. Someone posts a negative comment. Someone misunderstands your intentions. Someone refuses to support your dream. Your first interpretation may be, "I'm not good enough." But what if the truth is much simpler? Maybe they're having a difficult day. Maybe they see the world differently. Maybe they fear change. Maybe they don't understand your vision. Maybe they simply aren't your audience. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. One of the greatest skills you can develop is selective attention, choosing carefully what enters your inner world. You wouldn't allow every stranger into your home. So why allow every stranger into your thoughts? Guard your mind the way you guard your future. Because they're connected. The quality of your thoughts shapes the quality of your decisions. Your decisions shape your habits shape your character, and your character shapes your destiny. This is why the Stoics treated the mind like a sacred place. Not because life is easy, but because a disciplined mind can remain steady even when life isn't. There will always be people who misunderstand you, people who underestimate you, people who criticize choices they never had the courage to make themselves. Let them. You cannot build a meaningful life while carrying everyone else's expectations on your shoulders. Eventually, you must choose. Will you become the author of your life, or remain a character in someone else's story? Every day you delay that decision. Someone else continues writing your future, but the pen has always been in your hands. You simply forgot you were holding it. And once you remember, everything begins to change. One day, you'll realize that the opinions you feared were never the thing holding you back. It was your belief that they mattered. The moment you let go of that belief, everything begins to change. A quieter mind, a stronger character, a life guided by purpose instead of approval. Because true freedom isn't found in being admired. It's found in becoming someone you genuinely respect. If today's message helped you see the world, and yourself, a little differently, subscribe to the Stoic Mode and continue this journey with us. Every video is designed to help you build a calmer mind, stronger discipline, and unshakable inner peace through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, until our paths cross again. Walk with courage, think with clarity, lead with character, and never surrender your peace to the opinions of the world.